Hello and welcome to Richard's Home Mechanics. Today we're going to be changing the rollers out of this variator on a Peugeot Viva City 50cc scooter. It's very similar to whether you've got a Peugeot, a Yamaha or Honda. If they all run the same system with the same system of the belt and the variator, it's exactly the same way to change the rollers. So please sit back and enjoy. Okay then. Let's get this variator off. The first thing you're going to come up against is how to hold this while you undo this. I know that you can buy, I believe that you can buy a special spanner, and I assume there's 3 little pips on here, 1, 2, 3. And I think it might be like some sort of spoon that locks on with a handle. I've seen them before, and you can do that to hold that. Another option is to use a hammer, a claw hammer, like I've done there. Hook that in there, like that. You can either get someone to hold that, or you can G-cramp it. The name of the game is just to keep this still, but you need to have something quite severe to hold this, because this is going to be quite tight. Fortunately for me, I've got one of these. So we're going to crack it off, and let's just see what's behind it, shall we? You see how that so simply undoes. If you can afford it, get yourself a compressor. It makes life a lot easier. Right, that's the nut off. Let's put that to one side. What have we got here? Right, this should come off. Again, I've not worked on one of these, so I'm being very gingerly how I take them apart to remember. Don't forget, lay them out as they come out. So that come off first, so I put that the furthest away. That come off next. Doesn't seem to be any sort of spline. Seems to be, yeah, it's got a little spline there. That goes like that. Now, if this belt is tight to get off, sometimes they're tight. You think, God, I can't get it off. Go to the back, and you'll see right in the middle of the clutch, it's like a dish. Pull that dish towards you, like that. And that will slacken that. Hey, presto, job done. Right, I'm not sure how this is going to come off. I said I've never worked on one of these, so this is going to be, we're going to be going through this together. So this is new to me, so this could be you doing this. So let's do it. I think they pull off, I'm not sure. Here we go. That looks promising, but I think I've got to keep it all together. Wow, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of crap in there. Okay, so that is your variator. Okay, let's get on the bench and have a look, shall we? Stage 3. Okay, let's have a look at this variator. First impressions. It's very, very dirty. This should be spotless, absolutely spotless. And I can see rust just before I even take it apart. That's crap. Right, let's get this spindle out. Now this spindle should be grease free. Everything in here must be no grease. You know, under no circumstances should there be any WD, any grease or any rubbish or crap. Now this here is a spindle. That should freely spin on that. That should pull out. Now I'm struggling, pardon me, to pull this out. That's tight. That's just no way on earth should that be that tight. So we've got an issue with that. So let's take that out. That's going to need cleaning. Let's put it out in order. Don't forget, lay it out as the way you take it off. I've already cracked these nuts off, so let's pull these out. Being very careful not to lose the little tiny washers. Now this system should be really, really free moving. I shouldn't have any problem taking this apart. It should just literally fall apart. It doesn't need to stick, because if it sticks, it's not going to run. Before we pop this off, let's have a look at the other side. Now this is the side where the belt runs. Straight away I can see we've got an issue. Definitely got an issue here. So if you can see that, see these lines here, this is where the belt's been running. So if you imagine that's at the front, the sprocket, the rear clutch is at the back, and the belt runs along here, round here, and back round. Now that's where the belt's been rubbing. Look, that variator, or this scooter, this variator and scooter have not been running to its full potential. This could probably be explaining some way towards why I'm only getting 25 miles an hour. I would be expecting that line to be at least up there. Look, that could be, I don't know, 5 miles. That could be the 5 miles we're missing. So this will definitely need cleaning up. We've got an issue with that. So we now know If you see this on a variator, that's not good news. Now, thankfully, it hasn't grooved. It's hardly anything there. So I might get away with just buffing that down with a little bit of minor, very, very 1200 wet and dry just to clean that up. But this needs to be really, really polished and shined. And that's rusty. So that's going to need sorting out. So let's sort that out in a minute. The next stage is to take these rollers out. Inside, we're going to explain the rollers. So I've undone that. That comes off like that. So we can see, put it in order, how it comes off. Right, the easiest way I think to do this, because I think this is quite tight, is to pop that out like that. Here we go. That is tight. Now that's no way on earth should that be that tight. There's your rollers. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now them rollers look like they've been living at the bottom of the riverbed. Not good. Just again, first impressions. That's rusty. This should be really, really clean. There's no grease in it, but that is full of crap. So I'm going to have to clean that out. When you take these apart, be very, very careful not to lose these little bits. See them? They just go in here. Without them, that's going to be too slack, and that is definitely going to affect performance. So I'm going to be very, very cautious of that. I'm going to lay it down as it comes out. So when we assemble it, easy job done. So that's going to go down there out the way. Right, let's have a drink of tea. Next stage. This is where the rollers go. Right, imagine this is on the bike. As it revs, you've got these rollers in here. I'm just going to example, going to put one roller in there. As this revs, this spins round. And you know what's going to happen. As this spins round, these rollers are naturally going to want to roll. Well, they ain't going to do much rolling in there because look. Let's get a bit of cloth, look. Chuck that out there, look. Absolutely full. Look at that, look. Absolutely full of crap. There's no way them rollers are going to run. To me, it looks like someone's been there before and put oil in there. That looks like some sort of oil in there. So anyway, so we're going to have to clean that up. We're going to clean this up. I'm going to get I've got a little bucket. I'm going to get some engine cleaner and I'm going to clean all this up. All these bits I'm going to give them a good clean, but I'm going to make sure they're absolutely dry when I'm finished with them. I'm going to use an airline, blow every single bit of liquid out there. But under no circumstances is there to be any oil or any lubricant put anywhere near this or these rollers. Naturally, you'd want to think, I want to put oil on these. Another thing that these suffer from is flat edges. Now, look, straight away, I've seen that. These... You get two sorts, I believe. Again, this is new to me. You get the round rollers, and you get ones that look like a triangle. Now these are round, but I can see straight away where this has been sticking in here. I've got a flat edge, so it's been rubbing. So basically, this roller's been coming up here and going, can't go no further. So it's just been sitting there and going, spinning. Right, so them rollers, I've got no idea whether they're standard or not, but I will show you a new roller and I'll show you the old one. So that's the old one, which these are definitely knackered, look, they're full of rust, and that's a new one. Now these, what's the make? These are called Malossi. Certain circumstances, when you buy stuff, when you repair them, whether it's a car, motorbike, anything, you know, doing at home, a mower, you know, sometimes you can get away with buying pattern parts. In this circumstance, I'm not going to buy pattern parts. I'm going to buy genuine Malossi rollers, which I've been told, or I did my review, are a good roller. These were 12 quid for 6. You can buy cheap ones for 5. Sorry, these were 6 for £12, and these were 6 for £6. For 6 quid, you can tell the quality. Look, I'm going to go with the quality ones. No point spending a couple of hours sorting out your bike just for 2 months later to your rollers to go like that and get flat spots. When you put quality in first, quality every time. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to go on to stage 4. And I'm going to clean all these out. So there's no point me showing you this. I'm just literally going to get a bucket. I've made one out of a drum. I'm going to clean these with a brush. I'm going to get some engine cleaner. I'm going to give this a good old clean, all these bits. and then we'll come back and we'll reassemble it, and then we'll put it back on the bike, and then we'll start it and see how it runs. So we'll see you in a little while. I'm going to get these cleans, we're going to lay it all out, I'm going to get it all clean, lay it all out, and then we'll come back to the video, we'll reassemble it, make sure everything's working before it goes on, and let's get it back on the bike and see how it goes. So we'll see you in 5. Okay, welcome back to part 5. What we're going to do, we're going to reassemble this aerator. Now let's just run through what I've done. As you can see here, I washed this in my little washer, little bucket with, I use jizzer, but you can use gunk, but just to get the cleanness out. So I've cleaned it all out, and I'll give it an air blow, like so. Done. So that's done, so that's ready. If you remember also, this was quite abrasive on here. That was quite rough, and you could see where the belt was running. So I've got some 1200 wet and dry, like that, the grey stuff that says 1200 there. That stuff, it's very, very fine. And with a little bit of water, hence why it's called wet and dry. You can use it dry or use it a bit of a water. I've smoothed it off, so that is now lovely and shiny. And that'll help that belt slide up there. So hopefully we've saved that one. If it doesn't, then we'll have to replace it. But I think hopefully we'll get away with that. So let's reassemble it. So that goes there. While we're here, you'll notice a difference now when I put the rollers in. They were stuck, weren't they? Look, as soon as I tip it out, look at that. See how easy that moves? Now that, I think, can make a hell of a difference to the running of this bike, because I don't think them other rollers were running like that. So let's try and suss out how this goes back together. So there's one roller. Got 6 to put in. Let's just get rid of them old ones for a minute. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. In you go, baby. 6. So give that a little blow just to make sure. There you go. A little bit of dust in there. I know it's not going to hurt, but that's me. I like to keep them nice and clean. Right, we know that goes like that. I think this bit goes next, so I need to put, don't forget these little bits that go in here. See them? Push them in like that. I've cleaned them up as well. See them? They go like that. You mustn't lose them little bit of plastic inserts. So we've got 1, and we've got 2. Hang on, they are fiddly. 1, 2, that's it. I felt it, hear it click. 2 and 3. I think they click in. That's it. They're very, very fiddly. But there you go. Make sure they're all in. Now this sits on here, and I think that it's very, very fiddly. But take your time, and I think that sits. You can see I've cleaned it all because they're very, very slippery now. That's how they should be. That sits in there like that, I think, somehow, and that goes like that. That's looking good. There we go. Perfecto. Right, what's next? I think this goes on next. Now, do you remember when we took this apart? This bit was right. This bit here was right up here. It was stuck, but now that's nice and loose. And I think this is the little back plate. Again, I cleaned it all up. All right, let's have a look. I think that goes like that. Looking good so far. Put the screws back in. Don't forget, I'm reassembling it as I took off. So first bit, the parts closest to me are the first to go on, and the parts furthest away from where I'm working are the last bits to go on. Simple. Just makes it a lot easier. Right, nip these up. Now I believe on these scooters, again, I'm new to these. This is the first time I've done a variator. I keep calling it aerator. A variator. I believe that these are restricted. You sometimes, when you take these off, there'll be washers in between this here and that back plate. I do believe so, and that restricts the belt coming up, this expanding. But it looks like, I think someone's been there before me, so we ain't got to worry about that. But that's just for future reference. If you take this apart, if it's a very similar aerator to this, and this is off a Peugeot Viva City 50cc on a 2005 plate. If you find you've got 2 or 3 washers in there, I think you can leave them out. I think it'll give you a bit more speed, but that needs to be confirmed. But I think that is correct. Right, it's going to nip this up. Notice I'm using just a 1/4 inch ratchet because these don't need to be really tight. You're screwing into aluminium, and as we've spoken in the previous videos, don't torque it. So what I'm going to do, torque it. So I do opposite, opposite, opposite. Right, that's my initial tight, and then I'm going to do a little torque, and we're just going to go 1. Again, you'll get with experience, you'll feel it. 2. And again, not over tighten it. See, I'm putting my hand here and not on the end. If I put my hand on the end, there's going to be a lot of leverage. So I'm just using it closely because it's only these little bolts, and 3. And what I'm going to do, we're going to do it once more. Put that to the top. And we've got 1, 2, 3. There you go. Now that variator is back together. See, that's moving, look. That rattles about in there, which is how it should be. Right, do you remember when this little spindle that sits in here, that was stuck, wasn't it? Now, I polished that up as well with a little bit of wet and dry. No, don't forget, there's absolutely no oils. When I clean this out with engine clean, all these parts, I blew them out with my air, look. Bop, 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 bop. There we go, job done. Now this absolutely goes against nature, because normally if I was putting it into something, I'd like a little bit of lubricant in there to help it, but this absolutely has no oil at all, nothing. Now look at that, that was stuck before, wasn't it? Look, remember, couldn't even get the thing out to pull it out, falls out. I'm happy with that. And that looking good. Always treble check that you're happy, look round it, make sure, an important thing, there's no parts left on the bench. There isn't no parts left on the bench apart from that which goes on the front, which is for the electric start. Starter sprocket goes on there and spins it round. And that's all I've got left is the nut. So basically, happy days. So let's move on to fitting this on the bike and see how we get on from there. And this will be end of part 5. Hello, right. Let's crack on with getting this variator back in. Right, when we took this original variator off, if you can remember, Mr. Bodger had been there and unfortunately rammed the wrong size nut on and whacked it up. So when I come along to disassemble it, I put my air gun power tool on there and the nut was jammed and unfortunately it span the thread off. There's ways around it. We've managed to fix it, and the way to fix that is to re-die it. Now, this here is what they call a die, and what that does, that recuts a thread on there. So because this was stripped, I've had to go down a size slightly, so I've gone down to, it should have been a 11mm die, but I've gone to a 7/16. That's the nearest size I could get to the original size on here. So what you do with this, very simple, you get that goes in there like that. You clean this up with a rag, you oil it, and this goes on there, and what you do, you recut it and you go forward and backwards, and what that does, that recuts a new thread onto this crankshaft. So you go like that, you take it off, you blow it, wipe it with a rag or blow it with a compressor, plenty of oil, you take the die out, you blow the die because the swarf, you don't want no metal swarf in there, and you keep going like this, gently, backwards and forwards till you get to the end of the thread there. Right, so that now is already done, as you can see. I'll take that off there, very careful. Right, that is now cut to that size, which is a 7/16 die. Now, what we've got to do, we've got to get a nut, and I'm going to tap a nut to 7/16, and then by doing that, we use what we call a tap. And what you do with this, you get a nearer size nut to what we need, slightly smaller, and you do this. And I've got a little tool, it's the same, very similar to this, with a lever, and I spin it gently backwards and forwards with a bit of oil, cleaning it out, cleaning the die, cleaning the tap, cleaning the nut, and then we recut the thread. And basically what we have, we've re-dyed that with a new thread, matched the thread with that nut, happy days, bike's back on the road. So we had to do that before we went any further. I wasn't willing to bodge it again. this is going at a hell of a revolution, and I didn't want that to spin off. That come off, that's going to cause all sorts of trouble. The belt's going to jam up, and it's going to cost money and time. Anyway, so now we're good to go to start putting this back together. Right, on the variator, we obviously cleaned it all out, put new rollers in, and put that in there. Basically, on the back of this variator, because I'm going to make it very clear, because sometimes when I see videos, people they're very quick on doing things. I'm going to make this clear so you can see what I'm on about. There's the variator with the rollers in it. This had originally a back plate that sat on that, right? I couldn't work out what it's doing. So I did my little revision, and I found that this engine, quote me if I'm wrong, I'm not a scooter man. I work on all sorts of engines, so this is new to me. But this is very similar, I believe, this engine. It's a Peugeot V Click 50cc, very similar to a Peugeot Speedfighter. So it seems the same sort of engine. But I noticed when I had a video on someone doing the variator on their scooter, they omitted this and took it off. I'm not sure, is it some sort of restrictor? I know you have a restrictor at the front with a little washer that sits in there. That's taken out. I've done that. So I'm going to omit this one. I'm going to take it off for the moment. I'm going to fit this variator, without this back plate. If we have an issue, not a problem, I can put it back on. But I've got a feeling that every video I've watched, they took this off. So, I know, if someone would like to tell me whether I'm right or wrong, whether it's a limiter, I don't know, or restrictor, I don't know. But we're going to put this back without it. If there's an issue, I can soon put it back. So, there we go. So, basically, got my new rollers in there. Variator goes on first. No washer. That goes straight against the bosh of the crank. And we slide it on like that. Hold, making sure them rollers don't come loose at the back. Next, we've got the Bosch. I believe it's called a Bosch. Now, these have to be squeaky clean. You don't no grease, no oil, no contamination. That goes in there like that. And this, when you drive it, this comes out. Woo! See, the variator slides backwards and forwards. The Bosch stays there, so hence this needs to be lovely and smooth and slide without no jerks. Before, that was jammed. I had to pull it out. But look at that, it's beautiful. So that hopefully cured that. That needs to be nice. Next stage is the pre-engage for the electric starter motor. That sits in there like that. And as you crank it, as you press the starter motor, that comes out, little solenoid bit comes out, the sprocket, and catches on this, which is the sprocket which operates the starter motor, which connects to the starter motor, which connects to that. So this goes next. Before we go, put that on, we need to put the belt on. Now you'll find on here, sometimes the belt's a bit tight to pull across. Not always, but it's a bit tight. Now I've found, if you go to the back clutch, and where the belt is, there's a little pulley there. Can you see that pulley there? So you've got that bit, and then you've got a gap there. So you've got the front, and you've got a gap. And where the belt is, there's another, like a part of the pulley. Pull that towards you, watch. Pull that towards you. There you go. And that gives you a little bit more room to get that belt on. So, hey presto, here you go. Beautiful. It's funny, I do find this a funny system, how this works like this. You know, I'm used to having sprockets and teeth and chains, but that just rubs on there. Yeah, really weird way of system, but it works. Next, we've got the sprocket for the starter. That slides on there. On here, we've got some splines. It can go either way, doesn't matter. But make sure these splines go on. You'll feel it. Just gingerly, nice and gently put it on. There you go. Make sure, before we go any further, that belt moves. There you go. That's not jammed. That's not stuck behind there. Beautiful. That's working good. So, happy days. Now, normally, I would just get the nut and bolt it up. But in these circumstances, I haven't got the nut yet. I haven't got round to actually dyeing it yet. So all it's got left to do on here is to put the nut on and bolt it up. But what I normally do, because of the way this scooter runs and the way this spins round at a hell of a revolution, and also another unusual thing that I'm finding on these scooters is normally if you have a drive belt or a drive chain or a pulley that goes anti-clockwise like that, you would normally have what they call a left-hand thread. So it does up the opposite way. So when you put it on, it actually does the opposite way. So when it turns, it can't undo. But the way this wheel does, if you imagine when we get this nut, I'm going to be turning it clockwise. So that nut's going to be going like that. All right, it's easier to do it like this. So when I put the nut on, I'm going like that on that, right? So when this wheel engine turns anti-clockwise, so that naturally it wants to undo that nut, which I find really strange. You think it'd be left-hand thread. Left-hand thread, it can't undo it because it's doing the opposite way. I know it's hard to explain, but basically this is a normal thread. So this is going to turn like that, and also it could loosen this nut. So the way around it is to use what they call Loctite. Now Loctite basically is a liquid that goes semi-hard, and what you do on the just a little bit of thread on the thread, don't get it anywhere else, but on the stud or on the crank or on the bolt, and just a little bit in the nut. Now this is the colour blue. I will tell you the importance in a minute, but I use the colour blue. It must be blue on this job, right? And what you do, you get your nut and you bolt it up, torque it up. And what that does, that nut goes semi-hard on there. So basically what it does, because the engine's running anti-clockwise and this nut's going to want to undo itself all the time, that holds it on. It's just, that's what it is, a Loctite. It's like a glue for nuts, like a super glue for nuts. Right, going back to Loctite, beautiful stuff, absolutely excellent. Only use it on certain circumstances. Now I'm going to use it on here because I know that this nut could come loose with this spinning. Do not use the red one. When I say red and blue, let's explain. Let's explain the difference. It's literally this. Let's open that up. Let's put a bit on here, look. Let's get that out. There you go. That is blue. That is as simple as that. That's blue Loctite because it's blue. Simples. Right, red is red. Now red is a very, very strong Loctite, and looking around it, you know, when I look at things, when I look at engines, I look at how often they need to be taken apart. Now this, because it's got a belt, I don't know how long these belts last, 5,000, 6,000, I don't know. So I know this is going to need quite a bit of maintenance. You know, maybe I'm predicting maybe once a year to take this off and clean the rollers out, because I see how dirty these rollers get. So I would probably be saying this probably could be an annual job to clean these rollers, to check the belt. So if you use the red Loctite, you're going to struggle to get this nut off because it is really extra strong. So go for the blue. It'll hold the nut on for you, but it'll be good enough you can still crack it. That's the idea of it. It locks it, but you can still undo it. Anyway, all it needs left to do on this is, once I've obviously sorted the nut out, I'll put it on. Cover goes on, don't need to show that. It's 9 bolts. Just make sure, you'll find it when it goes on. It'll fit nice. If you've got a gap round here when you put it up the top, you ain't got it, it's not gone on right. It's got a locating, I've just noticed, very similar to car engines and car engine cases, crankcases and engine covers. It's got what they call a locating pin, or a dowel. I think it's called dowel. I call them dowels. So that's got to go in the hole in the side of there. If it don't go in, you'll know, you'll get a gap. Another thing I've noticed on these when I was taking this apart, the kickstart, before you put this on, make sure this kickstart is right. This here, let's put this so it's not again. I like to show it nice and clear because people do videos and don't explain it. Here, this needs to be pushed. This bit here needs to be pushed right back. If you put this on with it sticking out, when you go to kickstart, if you need to kickstart, it ain't going to work. It will just fall off. So make sure this is home. Just get it. Make sure this kickstart is level. Can you see that? Doesn't want to be any other position. Don't want to be down. It don't want to be up. Perfectly level. Get that level. Push that little sprocket there. That's what goes onto the part of the sprocket there to start when the electric start. This is the manual. Make sure that's home, and then you'll be safe. If you don't, you'll kick yourself. You'll put it together. You won't touch the kickstart, and all of a sudden you have a flat battery one day. You'll go to use a kickstart, and it'll just push down and stick down. Then you'll think, damn it, I wish I'd got that right. I wish I'd listened to Richard at Home Mechanics and done it first time right. Anyway, so just put this on. Once I've done that, once I've done the nut and put the cover on, I will then give it a test ride up the road and see how we get on. Should we just have a little recap? Basically, got the scooter, wasn't starting. I've sorted that. That was down to auto choke. That's sorted, so that's running. Going up the road on a flat, 25 miles an hour, and I did notice when I was doing 25 miles an hour, the engine was really screaming. It was high rev, so I knew it could go faster, but it acted like it was slipping, like a car slipping, like a clutch riding on a car or a motorbike. Took the variator out, realised that is probably the issue, because there's not a lot else on here. The clutch seemed to be working, so we've cleaned that out. Replaced the rollers with 8.5 standards. I don't want it to be a racy scooter. I just want it to start every morning. I want it to be reliable. If you start playing with them and tuning them, they get unreliable. The more you tune them, the more they're going to start playing you up. Look after them, service them, they'll look after you. When you need them to start, they're going to start. And that's my motto. You look after these, they will look after you. Anyway, so what we do, I'm going to get the nuts sorted, get this cover back on, and then the final start of this video will be me starting the bike up, making sure everything's running, there's no nasty noises, everything's bolted up, and then we're going to give it a buzz up the road, bring it back into the workshop, and let's then have a report and a little chat of whether we've done to this bike, what we've done that's made any difference. I'm hoping to get at least 32, 35 out of it. Again, I don't know nothing about these. I don't know what they're capable of, but I have put this scooter back to standard. So it'll be interesting to see what she will do. Anyway, look forward to next time, and let's get this put back together, and then let's test it up the road, and then see what we get out of it. I hope you enjoyed my little video there. The outcome after I changed the rollers, the scooter was doing 25 miles an hour flat out. I've now managed to get between 30 and 37 tops, which is a much marked improvement. I believe these do about 30, 32 standard. Anyway, it's a lot better. So, job done. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel or share me on your Facebook or your YouTube channels, and don't forget to hit a notifier so you will be notified of any other videos that I'll be putting on. Many projects in the pipeline. Thank you very much. Thank you again. Goodbye.